Good morning. Um, so, looking deeper into the Dial publication and the Transcendentalist movement, um, I I did I did a search, and it's interesting how it's described as a commercial and financial failure, the Transcendental movement or the Dial, during its brief 4-year run. It says, however, it remains a monumental text in American intellectual history. Um, and the challenge for me, even though uh, I have the PDFs of all four um, publications of the Dial. Um, each each what's the word for it? Each book compiled within each year is about 550 pages. So it's a challenge. I can't see how I can accurately go through uh, every book and every compilation, even though I really want to. It's a challenge. Um, so I just want to describe the Dial as it says, as AI describes it. The transcendental spirit. In the inaugural issue, Ralph Waldo Emerson described it as a journal in a new spirit. He envisioned it as a decentralized forum to capture a quiet revolution of individual thinkers searching for truth, principle, and a celebration of the self or nature. Um, So the publication rejected traditional hierarchical structures of authority like the university or church. Instead, its creators used the journal to treat reading as a sympathetic conversation where the individual reader connected directly with the spirit of nature. So pardon me, I'm reading from my laptop. And the editors were Margaret Fuller, who was the first editor-in-chief, who successfully shaped its early identity, infusing it with early feminist thought, social critiques, and demands for individual autonomy. She stepped down after 2 years due to mounting stress, a lack of content, and the magazine's inability to pay her regular salary. And of course, Ralph Waldo Emerson, he took over in 1842 after he took over the editorial duties to keep the journal alive from 1842 to 1844. He broadened the scope to look past pure literature, focusing heavily on art, property laws, government, and global philosophy. So, according to the downfall of the Dial, it says the Dial collapsed in April 1844 due to several factors. One was severe financial instability. The radical, unconventional nature of the prose only appealed to a niche audience. At its peak, the magazine never managed to secure more than 200 to 300 subscribers. It also says the key Transcendental Club contributors siphon their energy and attention away from the magazine to focus on paying utopian agrarian communities such as Brook Farm and Fruitlands, which was very interesting to me, which led me on another sidetrack. I didn't realize the Transcendental Club had these. They experimented in communal living. So this commune called Brook Farm, and I guess there's another commune called Fruitlands. So I looked into it, and it's called the Brook Farm Utopia. So the core idealists and organizers were George and Sophia Ripley of Brook Farm. It was a mid-19th century American utopian experiment in communal living that operated from 1841 to 1847 in West Roxbury, Massachusetts, where coincidentally I used to live. I lived for a number of years in the cult or commune, which was actually in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Actually, in a little town called Lower Mills, which was actually close to West Roxbury. Founded by former Unitarian minister George Ripley and his wife Sophia, the intentional community was deeply rooted in the principles of New England transcendentalism. It sought to create a city of God anew by balancing physical labor with intellectual development, ensuring that all work was rewarded equally so members could enjoy maximum mental freedom and leisure. And coincidentally, Nathaniel Hawthorne, I'm sure everyone's familiar with Nathaniel Hawthorne. He was actually a founding member who invested money into the farm, though he quickly grew tired of the grueling manual labor and eventually sued to recover his investment. He later satirized the commune in his 1852 novel, The Blithedale Romance, which I'm kind of interested to read. And it actually says, intellectual heavyweights like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Margaret Fuller, and Henry David Thoreau frequently visited and interacted with the community. Yeah. So it eventually fell apart. So I just thought that was interesting. I could actually do a whole separate video just about the dynamics of communal living. And I mean, so far, communal living is a venture that I seem to think human beings aren't really meant to live that way, because it's a great concept that you're sharing everything in common, especially in times like this, but there's always authority that comes up that needs to be established, and that's where the problems start. So with that, that was kind of a side note, but I wanted to go into the next level. And I actually got this book in the mail, which the author David Hawkins actually wrote in 2006, I believe. Yeah, he wrote it in 2006 after a couple other books. But this book is actually what started it all, which it's interesting because he's going more into depth of the different levels. So I left off at energy level 50, which is apathy. This level is characterized by poverty, despair, and hopelessness. The world and the future looks bleak. Pathos is the theme of life. That's a word I'd like to look into, pathos. Apathy is a state of helplessness. Its victims, needy in every way, lack not only resources, but also the energy to avail themselves of what resources may be available. Unless external energy is supplied by caregivers, death through passive suicide can result. Without the will to live, the hopeless stare blankly, unresponsive to stimuli, until their eyes stop tracking and there is not even enough energy left to swallow food. This is the level of the homeless and the derelicts of society. It is also the fate of many of the aged and others who become isolated by chronic or progressive diseases. The apathetic are dependent. People in apathy are heavy and are felt to be burdened by those around them. Too often, society lacks sufficient motivation to be of any real help to cultures, as well as individuals at this level who are seen as drains of resources. This is the level of the streets of Calcutta, where only the saintly, such as Mother Teresa and her followers, dare to tread. Apathy is the level of the abandonment of hope, and few have the courage to really look it in the face. And according to the map of consciousness, the God view is condemning, the life view is hopeless. The emotion is described as despair. And going back to the level of guilt, like the emotion associated with guilt is blame. Just as further down on the map, the emotion associated with shame is humiliation. So yeah, that's apathy. And as a side note, I watch YouTube videos, and there's so many YouTube videos of people just talking about the political situation nowadays and the economic situation nowadays with the Strait of Hormuz and everything else. And it's pushing, a lot of these YouTubers are pushing this idea of just hopelessness, that there's a one world government coming. Christians are saying there's the beast system that's coming. A lot of people, according to these YouTubers, are living in their vehicles because they can't afford houses or apartments, which is probably true, I'm sure. They can't afford food. But a lot of these YouTubers, the spirit they project is just apathy, hopelessness. not many are providing solutions. So, yeah. Yeah. So be careful what you put your attention toward. This is why I want to do these videos, because um, I'm I'm groping for truth. I'm groping for the ultimate truth. So I glean from many different things: Rosicrucianism, nature, the transcendentalists, the map of consciousness. So I want to put this information out there to help enlightenment, to help raise people's enlightenment levels, as long as my own, as well as my own. So, all right. So I'm going to leave it at there. And until next time.